The little girl stood alone in the crowded park, gripping her crutch so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. Around her, families laughed beneath the bright afternoon sun, children chased each other across the grass, and friends filled nearly every bench. Yet despite being surrounded by hundreds of people, she had never felt more invisible. When she finally gathered the courage to approach a quiet single father sitting alone beneath a large oak tree and softly asked if she could sit there, she expected the same uncomfortable reaction she had received countless times before. Instead, the man's answer stopped her in her tracks, and within moments, tears were running down her face. Before we begin, if you believe kindness, compassion, and second chances still exist in this world, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps us continue sharing heartwarming stories that remind people there is still goodness in the world. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon in the town of Cedar Falls. The sky was painted a brilliant blue, sunlight danced across the park's winding pathways, and the scent of fresh flowers drifted through the warm air. Families had gathered for the annual Spring Community Festival, one of the town's most beloved traditions. Booths lined the walkways, musicians played cheerful melodies, and children laughed as they ran between games and attractions. Among the crowd was 16-year-old Juniper Hale. 3 years earlier, Juniper's life had changed forever. A devastating car accident had taken her left leg and nearly taken her life. The physical wounds eventually healed, but the emotional scars remained. Learning to walk with a prosthetic leg had been difficult. Learning to face the world afterward had been even harder. Before the accident, Juniper had been outgoing and confident. She played sports, participated in school events, and never struggled to make friends. After the accident, everything changed. Some classmates treated her differently. Others didn't know what to say and slowly drifted away. Strangers often stared. Children sometimes asked uncomfortable questions. Every glance reminded her that she was no longer seen the same way. Over time, she stopped attending social events. She avoided crowded places. She convinced herself it was easier not to try. Her mother, Evelyn Hale, watched helplessly as her daughter slowly withdrew from the world. No matter how much encouragement she offered, Juniper struggled to believe she still belonged. That spring afternoon, however, Evelyn convinced her daughter to attend the festival. At first, Juniper resisted. But eventually she agreed. For nearly an hour she wandered through the festival alone. Everywhere she looked, people seemed connected to someone. Families sat together. Friends laughed together. Couples strolled hand in hand. The loneliness she had worked so hard to ignore suddenly felt overwhelming. Then she noticed a man sitting quietly on a bench beneath a large oak tree near the edge of the park. His name was Declan Rhodes. At 42 years old, Declan was raising his 8-year-old son, Mason, alone after losing his wife to illness several years earlier. Life had been far from easy. Balancing work, parenting, grief, and financial responsibilities often left him exhausted. Yet despite everything he had endured, Declan remained remarkably kind. While Mason played nearby, Declan sat watching the festival with a peaceful smile. Something about his presence felt safe. Without fully understanding why, Juniper slowly approached the bench. Her heart pounded. Years of rejection made even simple interactions feel intimidating. She quietly asked if she could sit there. Declan looked up. Instead of noticing the prosthetic leg first, he noticed the nervousness in her eyes. Instead of seeing a disability, he saw a young person carrying pain. His response was simple. He told her the bench belonged to everyone and that nobody should ever have to ask permission to feel welcome. The words hit Juniper harder than she expected. Most people tried to be polite. Most people offered sympathy. But very few people made her feel normal. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen as a person rather than a condition. The conversation that followed lasted hours. They talked about books, favorite movies, embarrassing childhood memories, and dreams for the future. Declan never asked invasive questions. He never treated her differently. He simply listened. As the afternoon sunlight filtered through the branches overhead, Juniper found herself laughing. Actually laughing. Something she hadn't done freely in a very long time. Nearby, Mason eventually joined them. The energetic boy immediately welcomed her into a conversation about superheroes, school projects, and ridiculous adventures he hoped to have someday. His honesty was refreshing. Children often saw people differently than adults. Mason didn't focus on what Juniper had lost. He focused on who she was. By the end of the day, Juniper realized she had spent several hours without feeling self-conscious. That alone felt extraordinary. Over the following weeks, an unexpected friendship developed. Declan and Mason often invited Juniper to community events, picnics, and volunteer projects around town. Slowly, she began reconnecting with the world she had avoided for years. The changes were small at first. She smiled more. She spoke more confidently. She stopped hiding from photographs. She started participating in activities again. Evelyn noticed every change. The daughter she thought she had lost to sadness was slowly returning. One afternoon, several months later, Cedar Falls organized a charity walk supporting accident survivors and rehabilitation programs. Hundreds of people registered to participate. Juniper wanted to join. But fear quickly returned. The route stretched for nearly 2 miles. She worried people would stare. She worried she would fall. She worried she would embarrass herself. The old doubts resurfaced. On the morning of the event, she nearly stayed home. But then she remembered something Declan had told her weeks earlier. He had said that courage wasn't the absence of fear. Courage was deciding something mattered more than fear. Those words stayed with her. So she showed up. The crowd gathered beneath bright sunshine. Music played. Volunteers handed out water bottles. Families lined the streets. Juniper stood near the starting line feeling nervous. Then she noticed Declan and Mason waiting beside her. Neither of them said much. They simply stood there. Supporting her. Believing in her. When the walk began, Juniper took her first steps. Then another. Then another. The journey wasn't easy. There were moments when her leg ached. Moments when exhaustion set in. Moments when doubt tried to return. But every time she looked up, she saw people cheering. She saw Mason smiling. She saw Declan quietly encouraging her. And she kept moving forward. When she finally crossed the finish line, the crowd erupted into applause. Juniper stopped walking. For a moment, she simply stood there. Overwhelmed. Not because she had completed 2 miles. But because she had proven something to herself. She wasn't broken. She wasn't defined by what happened to her. She was still capable of moving forward. Tears filled Evelyn's eyes as she watched from the crowd. Months earlier, she had feared her daughter would never regain her confidence. Now she was witnessing something far more important than physical recovery. She was witnessing emotional healing. Before we reach the ending, we have a special request for you. Comment below, have you ever met someone whose kindness changed your life when you needed it most? Today, Juniper continues to volunteer at community events throughout Cedar Falls. She often helps other young people facing challenges similar to her own. Whenever someone asks what helped her find confidence again, she doesn't mention therapy sessions or motivational speeches first. She remembers a sunny afternoon in a crowded park. A simple question. A simple answer. And a single father who chose kindness when it would have been easier to look away. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps spread hope, compassion, and encouragement to people who may need it most. As the sun began setting over Cedar Falls that evening, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange, Juniper realized something she would never forget. Sometimes the most life-changing moments don't come from grand gestures. Sometimes they begin with an empty seat on a park bench, a kind response from a stranger, and a reminder that everyone deserves a place where they belong.